Oh,
Watch out now.
okay.
There you go. I seen it on his face.
Oh, yeah, you can't get us this time.
Matter of fact,
Lungs is the word.
matter of
Praise
fact,
the Lord, saints.
P, I'm gonna show some love. My man, Tim Briscoe. His producer name is Briscoe the King.
Mm.
He made an album that he just released on iTunes. It's kind of like some when you need to work, but you need something cool to listen to. I just wanna. He said we could use his music whenever we want to. Look.
Love is the answer.
Let me just.
All about what you make it.
Yeah, how much? I can't vibe. I can't. Just for after the show. What are you doing? What are you doing?
I'm just playing some joints for you. Like, hold on. Like, let me just forward it a little bit. Like it's vibe out music. So for whatever we need, like I already be like, yo, I need you to. So yeah. Shouts out to Tim Briscoe, Briscoe the King, and that's just 3 joints. He's got a whole yeah. Anyway,
where
so
do you
music?
Where do you get his music?
You can go to iTunes. It's under Briscoe the King. He just released the album. He started producing. I mean, he's a musician, but he actually started producing a couple of years ago. And he's like, you know what? I want to put an album together. I said, you should. And I totally forgot. He came back. He was like, yo, remember that conversation we had? I said, for sure. I said, he said, well, I want to show you something. And he sent me a link to the album. He said it's out on iTunes now. I said, my man.
So we're not gonna get messed up for that.
No, we're not gonna get messed up for it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So we don't get banged. Like Facebook might do it, but it's just one of them things where we gotta, and then I'll just have him on the back and say that Unscripted has, you know what I'm saying? So let him rock.
Sounds good. That's lovely. I'm serious. That's lovely. I
you know
I wanted to introduce
Cheers.
y'all to. I want to introduce y'all to my weekend.
Oh yeah, praise God.
I was looking for Sade this weekend, didn't find her.
Okay.
I was in Huntsville.
Mm-hmm.
Leah, wasn't your daughter there, Leah?
Huh? No.
I saw something that you posted about VOT or something like that.
No, that was one of my youth that was in my youth choir, right, years ago. And so it just thrilled my heart to see her up there just singing. She took back all that good work.
All right. I was looking, and please don't get upset at me, but the person you posted was very light. So I thought,
My.
Look at you. All light-skinned people, Quest.
You know, it's all we always get the rap. It's all good.
You my brother, Quest.
We
right?
always, no doubt. You know what I'm saying? We always get the rap. It's all good.
Terrible, Paul. Terrible.
I love y'all, man. I love you to death, man. And I had a great time. But let me tell you something. I really did not. I didn't go to any of the festives.
Why not?
My bed was comfortable.
I know that's right.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that the season of life we in now?
I don't know. I got to admit, man, and some of the things that I've been talking to people about while I was there, and I'm going to be straight with y'all, was that this thing doesn't happen next year on Easter.
So there has been so many conversations about how it needs to change to a historically homecoming weekend.
Fall. It is going to fall. Columbus Day. That's not Columbus Day. We need to do it on Columbus Day because that's not our holiday.
You know that ain't.
The other thing is though, it impedes so many people. If you are active in your church, if you are a pastor, if you have anything that where you are committed to a ministry in your church and you went to Oakwood, or even if you've never gone to Oakwood but you want to experience alumni weekend, you can't do it if it's Easter
You
weekend.
can't.
Now y'all know good and doggone well that that is not gonna happen because folk can't come in they summertime. You know what I'm saying?
Do
That's
it in
too
the fall.
bad.
It could be such an amazing experience. You could still have like there's so many other things we could do because it's
Mm-hmm.
so hot outside. Don't nobody want to be outside.
Mm-hmm.
So you could do other things on campus that could just. I mean, we've had the discussion multiple times of how it needs to change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm. I just want to see something different. But I'm gonna say this to y'all right now. There's been a couple of conversations that took place based on this role playing thing, that whether it's Christian or not.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I need to work on my facial expressions. Say it
I'm,
again because my facial expressions
I
definitely.
need you to say it again too, because I didn't quite. Yeah.
there's been some question on whether look at okay, you're happy now.
Look, you may have to sit in the green room too long, Auntie.
Not anymore. I don't know what's going on, but
What's good, TP?
nothing, man. What's going on?
Man,
I saw
shoot.
you on that sermon. I thought you was gonna wear some roots that day.
Hey, bruh. Hey, let me tell you something. I started to get to him on what's the name on Saturday, but I said, hold up, they're gonna get it this week. I got a little. Don't worry, I'll be able to send you some pics this week.
Yeah, I wanted to
well,
see you rocking that.
Come on.
well,
Come on.
I got some questions.
Yeah.
You started this, Armina, the last time we were together on this role playing thing. I just want to know. I mean, is that impeding our Christian walk? Because for me, I want to be a.
Let me. Yeah.
What is happening? So now you learned your planes?
I want.
Sorry, what did you say?
I want. I
You
want.
learned your planes now?
Hey.
Well, I mean, I am glad that you found. I'm glad you found your role.
I want to be the grounds crew.
Come this way.
Oh, I think the better question is
That is hilarious.
what makes it non-Christian, I guess is my wondering.
That's the part I want to know.
Well, I mean, when we were talking about it, I want to be very clear that we were talking about husband and wives.
Yeah.
All right.
You know, but I mean, I think sometimes though, let's just be honest, we have some people in our audience that are not married, but they're sexually active. But
Right.
that particular conversation was geared towards being married. Now, the question though is not necessarily the role play, but there are lots of controversy around what can be done in the bedroom.
I think that we have a crazy mindset behind what is how do they call it again, Terry? When they say
Real quick, Pete. There's an echo somewhere. We need to fix it.
um
That might be me. Hold on.
Okay.
How about now?
Better
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
What is called when the marriage bed is undefiled.
undefiled, yes.
All right,
Yeah.
undefiled. I mean, I wonder to that what that really honestly, right? What does that really mean? And I think that
Yes.
we need to begin thinking about what does that really mean. I'm just saying. Before we begin, hold on. Before we begin, I think I just found something, y'all. I found it.
Oh,
I found it. Hold on. Let me get rid of y'all for a second.
You
Get
found
out that
it.
year. Get out that year. He's a Jamaican. Get out that year.
Get out of here.
Get get out
Get
that
out
year.
of here.
Wait, hold on. Come out here. Come.
Yeah.
Move. Hold on.
Yep. Make it happen, Captain.
Oh, I think I got it, man. I think I got it.
Come
I'm gonna be so excited. I'm excited. I can't even press these buttons. I'm so excited.
Yeah. You went to you muted yourself, but it's all good. Okay. Look. There ain't no sound to it, bro. That ain't it. That ain't it, P. That ain't it. That ain't the one. Where's the one I sent you? Yeah. You know you still muted, right? You still muted. Yeah, I can't. Nobody can hear you. Nope. You are muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm looking for. Hold
Yeah.
on. Hold on. So what was the thing that you sent?
I sent it to you. I sent it to you in your text.
I thought I got it.
It's in your text. I just want you to know it's in your text.
Yeah, but the text can't help me. We're here. All right. You know what? I'm sorry, y'all.
No, you just get it ready for next week. That's all.
Nah, man. Oh man. Now I got to bring them back, right? Now I got to bring them back, and I'm going to be embarrassed when I bring them back.
All right. So
They're going to look at me like, "Yo, Paul, did you really stop the conversation for nothing?"
For nothing? No, I'm gonna help you, P. I'm gonna
Okay,
help
I appreciate you, man. I appreciate. Let's bring back Texas.
you. Hold
All
on.
right. Let's bring back Long Dong Silver. Let's bring back. Let's bring back Leah. Let's bring back. What did I say?
Help him, Jesus. Help him.
Please, Lord.
Help him. All right. So
I called him Long Strong Silver. Is that what I said?
John. I heard a John. Did y'all hear John?
I heard.
No, you hear nothing. All right. So
all right. So you see that I just gave you right there?
Yeah.
All right. You can have that, and let's see if that'll. Yeah. Do you have sound?
Yeah, I have sound.
Oh, okay.
I hear no sound.
What happens when you bring a pastor, a marriage coach, an educator, and 3 clinicians all together on one platform with no script, no pre-planned questions, with just one goal?
To have real, raw, relevant conversations that bridge the gap between mental health and wellness, marriage and relationships, including those who are single, who are seriously pursuing love.
We dive deep into the struggles, the healing, the growth, and the wins that come from building healthy relationships, starting especially with the one you have with yourself. Like I always tell couples, you're not the problem, your spouse is not the problem is the problem.
Every episode begins with an unscripted question, and where the conversation goes, nobody knows. I'm telling you right now, even we don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. What?
I mean,
You can't go home, you can't get mad when they wrong. But one thing's for sure, you're about to get truth, transparency, and transformation.
Hey, listen, you know what I learned from a client? She and her husband used to create these characters, and they would like meet up at a hotel somewhere. They were married, but this is how they spiced up their marriage.
Talking about role playing? I got a question for you. I want everybody to answer it. What would your role be? I see Terry in the Terry's in the green room. I'm not gonna let him off the hook. Hey Terry, how you doing? Question. Go ahead.
You know I heard that whole conversation, right?
Welcome to another episode
Of Unscripted, the Bridge Edition.
Yeah.
I love it.
Awesome.
Yeah. So So Pete got trigger happy because when I do it, I want to do it right. I want to do it from the jump.
Yeah.
So y'all getting it half now, Pete. All right, I'm gonna have to.
I'm gonna get it together, bro.
Don't worry. I'm gonna make sure we get it together.
I'll get it together, man. my whole joint just died on me, man. Like I'm waiting for everything to come up. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, cheers.
Yeah, hey, cheers. Or well, with Terry, mustard seeds. All right, here we go. So anyway, first of all, I ain't see y'all. We haven't talked in a long time.
Yeah, no doubt.
So I want to go back to the mindset that a lot of people, well, I'm going to say 4 or 5 people is enough to be like, yo, what is, is that really something that should happen? Is it a spiritual thing or whatever? And I like what you just said, Armina. We're talking about people who are married, but there's a lot of people, of course, that's on here, of course, that they have, sexual relationships and they're not, and they're not married. So I want to be, for me, I want to be the groundsman. I still want to be the groundsman.
He put him back on.
Did you say you want to be a grounds crew?
I want to be a grounds crew.
You want to you want to come in with the overalls, with the what I'm saying, the full body overalls.
No, just
with
the just the vest.
Oh wow.
And I'm gonna put a little light on so wait so it could reflect. You know what I'm saying? So it can reflect.
You really thought this out.
I thought it out, man.
Yes.
I thought don't be jealous.
No jealousy. No jealousy at all.
Because we're the Get Fresh crew.
So Armina, listen, Armina, honestly, is it kosher? Is it not kosher? Where's your heart on it?
For me and my husband, it is. And I have to preference that because I don't believe that there is a script to marriage. Like there isn't a book where every married couple follows from cover to cover.
That's it.
Wow. She don't follow no script. So if your husband come in with a preacher's robe on, it's good, right? If your husband comes in with a preacher's robe on, hold on, Leah, I'm getting somewhere. If your husband comes in with a preacher's robe on, what do you, with a little collar, what you gonna say?
Yep.
Play me some Marvin Gaye.
I'm just saying.
Don't say, "Bless me, Father, for I have sinned."
Hey.
It's been 15 years since my last confession.
Hey.
Oh man, I think that we don't have enough, whether it's in the church or not, right? Whether it's in the church or not, we don't have enough open conversations because it's always a closed thing when it's really a spiritual thing. It's closed, even if you're not religious or church going or whatever. That thing is still spiritual. It really is. Leah, what you were saying? I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I was just gonna, piggyback off of what you said initially and talking about the marital bed or the marriage bed being undefiled, right?
Okay.
And so when we're looking at that, basically what the word is saying is that there is no measure of corruption, right? that happens in the marital bed. So if I want to get creative, am I not allowed to do so? It is in the marital bed.
Hey, listen, I think you're right because the person that said true right there is a pastor. See that guy right there, Byron Wells? That's a pastor. So okay, you could.
So can I say this then? With the word saying that the marriage bed is undefiled, I think that there's a part of that encourages you to explore your sexuality with your spouse. Have fun. He gave it to us not only for procreation, but for us to enjoy.
But I think you said something, though, Quest, is with your spouse. Now,
with your spouse. We
know that in some marriages, it doesn't just solely remain with just the spouse.
Mm-hmm.
And it can get creative, right? That way.
Well, you mean with permission?
What'd you say?
You mean with permission?
I mean, again, it is only with the spouse that the marriage occurs. It doesn't occur with the spouse and outside partners.
That's right.
Even if an individual decides that they may want to bring someone into the marriage, then that no longer is solely about that marital union.
So I question that, because in the Bible we see a lot of marriages where other people were bought in.
That was never the initial.
That
initial
Hey, wait, hold on a second. No one told you to talk right now, okay? She's speaking. She's speaking. Okay, let her finish her thought. Go ahead, my sister.
So what I'm saying is, if we look at Abraham and Sarah, right? If we look at Jacob, Rachel, and Leah, if we look at just in that time, I think the only marriage, and I could be absolutely wrong, where I see one husband, one wife, is Adam and Eve. Job and his wife, I'll give them that one. Solomon, David, like, I think.
Look at the what happened after they introduced other people into the marriage, though.
Now, there were problems, right? But if you look at Adam and Eve, they're not a good blueprint either. So
yeah, but when you mentioned the situation with Abraham, Sarah, I can't remember which one she was at that particular time before her name got changed. I think it was Sarah, right? The reality is that they weren't in the bed together. I'm talking about the marital bed,
Okay,
right, and the activities that occur therein. She allowed for her husband to go out there and get somebody else because she felt inadequate, right? So that's a whole nother issue. But as Quest was saying, when the rubber met the road, he had mad issues trying to make certain that his wife was, happy. Right. And when wife got unhappy, he said, do whatever you want to with Hagar. I don't even care, because she ain't mean nothing to me, right?
Right.
So now you got another woman in your situation that's getting used up, but you got a baby by him at the same time, right? So you'll never get rid of the side piece.
Right. Because the rubber should have met the road.
The rubber should have been on. But then it would have,
Right.
But you know what, though? It's a testament to what happens when you don't trust God in relationship.
That's true.
Yeah.
If you look at every situation where there were side pieces or whatever we want to call them in terms of our biblical representations or examples, everybody did what they did because they didn't trust God's word.
That's it.
He said it like for real. When stuff don't show up in the time frame you think it should show up or happen the way you think it should happen, man, I'm dealing with some family stuff right now, and a lot of our young people are paying the price right now. Why? Because they don't trust God. You trust God in so many. All right, you have belief for God, but you don't believe God. Because see, when you believe God, it requires a movement on your behalf, whether it be obedience or moving in a particular time and space. And when it comes to this thing called love and relationship, you don't trust them for it. So you take matters into your own hands, and then you don't get the blessing that you're supposed to get from relationship. But yeah, that's a.
But can I say this though?
Well,
can I say,
go ahead. Go ahead, Armina, and then come back.
Let me put a note.
The crazy part is that we don't read that whole scripture.
Woo!
Because if you kept going past undefiled, like that would answer the questions most of us have.
Go ahead.
Because it talks about the whoremonger and the adulterers. Like, so that's that. And it's not funny, but it's my little dry humor. So just don't be on the bed. Use other spaces in the house.
That's my girl.
You with Dougie Fresh. We the Get Fresh crew.
Listen, they just wait, hold on. Do y'all hear that?
Yeah.
They just erased my name off the book. Lord Jesus. No.
This is what Pastor Wells makes this comment. Believe in God and believing in God may not be the same thing. I love that. Oh, shoot.
My question to Quest was, in some people's lives, and this, I promise you, I love the Lord. Let me preface this. I love the Lord. I believe in God.
We know what's coming. Go ahead.
But Has God shown himself trustworthy to everybody?
I believe he has.
So let me say, if you have people who have experienced trauma literally since their childhood, and they've had to fend for themselves, they've had to fight people off of them, they've had to make decisions, and they didn't have the protection of a parent, they didn't have the guidance of a parent or a grandparent or someone to say, hey, I love you. When I worked with children in foster care, I learned the value of saying, I can't tell you who God is all the time because of your experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we have to understand, for some people, trusting God is a daily choice that they're having to work through because he hasn't really shown himself like that in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's unfair of us to say that you should just trust God with your love life, with your career, when you've had to literally get it out the mud yourself.
Well, here's the funny thing about it. For those of us who are believers, right, and you know that trusting God is not an overnight process, right? Because I'm with you 100%, Sade. Like, for real, some of us have experienced some things, but it's a journey, it's a walk, right? And what you definitely don't want to do is take a side road off the path. Stay on the journey. Right. And a lot of us are taking side roads and stuff because we got, you know what I'm saying? Like, please, whatever you do, don't get off the path.
Let me interrupt you for a second, Quest.
Yeah.
This is very hypothetical. Very, very hypothetical.
Yeah.
So Faith comes to you, and Faith says, you guys sat down, you say you watched Bridgerton together, right? Okay. She sees a scene on there, and she says, you know what? For your birthday, I want to do something for you.
Praise God. Praise God for Bridgerton.
So she says, hey, Jay, I just want to, I want to do something different for you.
Praise God.
All right. I'm bringing another sister in, and
whoa.
What?
Pause. We not bringing nobody up in here.
Oh. Well, see, listen, my friend. Because you scared me, because when I was talking, I thought you got where I was going.
No, I did not. Until
so
you said
you
you bring another chick up in here. No.
Were you thinking curry goat rice? What were you thinking?
Let me tell you something. I don't need no help in the area of sin. I don't need no help. I don't. Hey, bro, my mind is very vivid.
Yeah,
I got quite the imagination when it comes to sin. I don't need no help. You know what I'm saying?
So you're calling it sin?
Yeah, I'm calling it. It's sin.
even if they agree.
Nah, bro.
No. I'm not.
Nah, you're not hearing what I'm saying. Nah, because when God come back to ask, but God, she agreed. What did I give you instructions to do as a father and as a husband, or filling in that? I don't care about I don't care if they wanted to, when my sons do it all the time. Well, he said I could do it. Well, if they said to jump off the Brooklyn Bridge, would you do that too?
Here's my issue. You see the watermelon lady?
Yeah.
Okay, let me share something with you. I'm gonna sound like Sade. I love the Lord.
I love him too.
All right.
And that's why nobody else ain't coming up in here.
I don't think Leah. I don't think that I would have a strong rebuke. Okay, I don't think that I would have a strong rebuke. I think though that I probably would not, but it would not be because of heaven.
So my question is it more so about the lust of the flesh, which would keep you, right, from not rebuking such an ask or such a gift? Is it the lust of the flesh that's motivating that? Or is it wisdom? Because Irv, right, just posted something. He said, so what's up with Solomon?
Okay.
Solomon had all these concubines, right? This is where, men, that's the pinnacle for men to want to reach is what?
You can't trust Dr. Daffy.
Dr. Irv.
Come on, Black. That's my boy. That's my boy.
You can't trust Irv on this one, man.
But here's my thing. He says nobody can explain this, and yet we acknowledge him as the wisest man. But
what did he say?
In his latter years, he said all of this was what? Vanity. Folly, foolishness, right? Well, after he's experienced it. And I think that we all have a measure of experiential knowledge that we can then turn around and look back at and say, don't do it, because it will lead you down a path that you cannot recover from.
Okay, so do we not do certain things as Christians because we are afraid of getting caught, or we're afraid of going down the path?
No,
because some people will go down the path. Some people go down the path and be
probably both.
Okay,
a little of both.
Okay,
I'm telling you, it's some people out here.
Let's pause for a second.
Action is next level, bro.
Sade, do not wear your face on your sleeves.
Because I was sitting here thinking, and I was like, I don't think it's just Christian, right? I think human experience lends itself, whether you're Christian or not, that some things just aren't going to happen in my house, right? Because common sense is more common than we think. If I know myself, right? If I'm in the bed with my husband and another woman makes a sound, we're gonna have a problem. That ain't got nothing to do with my Christian walk. That ain't got nothing to do with that's a problem for me. And so I think what we have to understand is outside of Christianity, and I'm not saying take Jesus out of it, but some things are just logically, it needs to make sense. And to the point of you and your wife may not be sinning, but this other person is.
Sade, do you know what that is? If another woman come in here and I stroke and she make that sound in my ear that my people make, and I'm like, whoa.
I'm going to jail.
What was that? And I get, it's just certain experiences you don't need to have, because once that box is open, now you at your job thinking about that moan in your ear. Oh, y'all crazy. Not me.
So I don't even know what he just said. I don't think he even know what he just said. Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
So let me say this, okay? From before I was married, for the partaker in, let me just say that. Okay, did before I met Jesus. Anyway,
Amen.
Well, actually, it wasn't. But anyway, let me just say this:
before you knew and had a relationship, You met him a long time ago. Did you know him?
Did you know him?
Yeah, I was in college. But what happened was, and this is what inevitably will happen.
Okay.
And Quest was talking about it. There's always going to be, as my guys call it, my class, some strange, you see what I'm saying, that come along. And it's like, yo, she doing what this one ain't doing. You see what I'm saying? Or it's something different. And so then you start calling and talking to that one. You see what I'm saying? And there's problems because there is some rules, there's some rules that come along with this thing. And a lot of times it's hard to keep that, separate from, because it's like, dang, man, this one right here is doing this better than so-and-so. And so it's best to, because I've had women tell me that they would bring in somebody if, we were married or whatever, they would bring in somebody for my birthday. And I'm like, you probably don't want to do that. You
don't even know what you're doing.
Bring in somebody and
putting your own self out of business.
Listen,
you bring in somebody, it's like you don't, but you wouldn't know her. It doesn't matter. There's social media and everything else. You run into and then next thing you know, your stuff is messed up at home because you chose to bring somebody in. And, eventually when that happened, the other person was, getting heavy rotation. That's how it was.
And I think the other thing is a lot of what I've seen is that there are couples who, when they're already in a vulnerable place, they introduce this idea to kind of, in their mind, bring them closer together, right? We're struggling. There's a disconnect between us. Maybe we need to spice it up a little bit and bring a third party in. I just think for me in my house, whenever that house is established, that's something that, if that's a desire of yours, I'm not the person for you.
Okay. That means there's probably I'm just saying there's probably a conversation then that happens.
I would pray not, but yeah, like, I mean, like, if that's something that you're into, like, I hope that that's not the desire of my husband. Like, he's not trying to do this at this ripe age. But I also have to understand that that is a conversation. Like, what is it that you're into? What have you experienced? What are you trying to go through, and all of those things? Because I don't want us to be in the position to where that could even come up. Sorry, I'm not on Do Not Disturb. But I just think it's crazy I think it's selfish in some parts to expect someone else to come in and that your spouse not be intrigued to know more.
Okay.
But can I add something though, Paul?
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
And it goes a little bit back to what Sade was saying about like common sense and logically doing certain things. What happens though when an individual changes over time? Because in a marriage, and even before the marriage, right? While you're dating, a lot of times you get all the right answers. And people know how to not disclose certain things until you get very comfortable into the relationship. And then you start to, over time, feeling like you can start to peel back some of those layers of your life.
Mm-hmm.
I know of an individual, will not, share and or disclose, but I know of an individual who was married for let's say decades, had no clue, no knowledge that the individual in which, this person was married to enjoyed cross-dressing.
Wow.
And wanted to do that, right? We're talking about role playing and all of these things, right? Wanted to do that on a regular. Now, years and years and years down the road, never was a conversation, never was disclosed. How do you then manage a person and a change in sexuality over time?
Stay thirsty, my friends.
Because it happens.
I believe you're absolutely correct. I mean, as you were saying just even earlier, Sade, when you're not having the conversation, and then when you get married and this happens, or I'm just saying, and if you're dating for years and then this happens, it can definitely throw folk off. It can throw folk off to the point where I think, again, as Christians, we don't even have the conversations. So we end up getting married thinking that everything is spiritual, but how can two walk together and not agree? And two walking together and not agree is not having to do with whether you believe in the Sabbath or not, or so and so, whatever. You could be unequally yoked even in the bed. Oh, you understand where I'm coming from?
They agreed in the beginning, the scenario that I just gave you, they were in full agreement. Over time,
and they changed, you said,
right? The exposure, because what we're talking about here is exposure, right? You've opened up, as Quest was saying, you open up that box, you open up that portal. When you start to explore other things just to spice up, you don't know whether or not you have a propensity to want to remain in this particular walk of life.
Leah, and that's it. Some people don't know their family history, and you have no idea what you predisposed to.
And so it can be along the lines of, right, we talk about people have a genetic predisposition to alcoholism, other types of drugs, whatever. The same can be if you open up to a certain type of sexual, right, encounter.
So let me say this, right? Growing up and even now to this very day, I'm a dude. I'm the island is very rich in the kid. I love cornmeal porridge. I don't care what nobody say. But yo, I'm all day, every day. If I could have it every day of the week, I'd eat it every day of the week. I love cornmeal porridge, and it's thick, right? And so you have cinnamon, you have nutmeg, you have what you call it, cloves or whatever, it bay leaf. Sometimes like my mom used to put in it, right? And sometimes you dip the spoon in and take it back out and taste it, and you be like, it needs a little something else. But here's the funny thing, everything that you needed in the amount you needed, you already put in there. So all you got to do is stir it, because cornmeal porridge is something that you got to stir. With some of us, you have everything that you need, you just haven't stirred the marriage. And what I'm saying is, sometimes when you start exposing all of that other stuff that don't need to be in there, it's going to ruin the taste, it's going to ruin the flavor, and it might make you sick.
But when you said the exposure, I think about how in the dating world, right? People have already been exposed to stuff. And if you're asking somebody who, in my ripe age, who's lived life, to come together and say, let's do this, just you and I think the conversation even has to be like, historically, what has been your experience? Right? And I think the tough conversation, the real tough conversation for women, especially Black women, to have with Black men is, have you ever been raped? Have you ever been molested? Have you ever been abused? Because that can show up in my marriage. And that's
it will.
And that's a question, like, women don't have a problem saying, yeah, this was my experience. This is my life. This is what happened. But to give a man the safe place to say, I was touched and I hate that I liked it, but it happened. Like, how do you think that's going to present itself sexually?
When
we're
if you don't have a safe place for them to share that, then they're not going to share.
And we're going to act out.
And that's why I said I would pray that in a dating situation, or whomever I'm with, if I open that question up, that I've created that safe place. But now he's having to think about things he's probably never thought about since then.
You know what I'm hearing, Sade, as you say that too? I'm just thinking like, yo, if you're not in a place where you're ready to have that type of conversation, then you probably shouldn't be dating to move to a serious relationship.
Absolutely. But what if the other person don't feel, Quest, that they can have that conversation? What if somebody's not open enough to have that conversation?
Well, then we shouldn't even be doing what we're doing right now. Because here's the funny thing: if we progress through all of this and get to the place of serious relationship, let me tell you something. You know how many couples I know who moving in a particular direction? Let me not say particular. They're moving towards marriage, and there's some stuff that they need to work through. And I've had to tell couples, let me tell you something. You might want to postpone this. And they're like, well, we paid for this and we paid for that. Do you know what you're going to pay on the back end? As a result, if you don't, sure, you lose a couple grand, but what you going to pay on the back? You know how much divorces cost now?
Yeah.
And that's without kids.
Mediator.
I got the t-shirt, I got the hoodie, I got it all. I tell people my divorce lasted about 16 years.
Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I just think like those conversations, they feel intrusive, right? They feel very intrusive. They feel like this is a very sensitive subject. But I think the question that we have to think about as I'm talking through this is, how do you create those safe places? How do you create? And I'm asking men, like I'm asking Quest, I'm asking Paul.
I'm going to share something with y'all. I'm sorry. I have to do this because I even text Pat. And I asked Pat if he would come on. I'm not going to give full information in this sense, but I found out that my brother was touched when he was speaking at a sexual, what is it called? This, I forgot what it's called. They do it in conference. It was a sexual conference that they have every march down in Florida. Purity.
Okay.
Okay.
At a
And
purity conference? Wow.
yeah,
The
and
devil is
Pat,
wild.
I mean, I'm speaking with Pat next to me. Listen, he's the closest person to me next to my wife, right? And that's debatable.
Mhm.
Okay. My man is speaking and he makes a comment. Pure reality. Thanks. It was pure reality. And he makes a comment. And when he made the comment, he said, I was touched by so and so, blah, 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 what have you. Yo, listen. We had to stop. And I turned to him while we were preaching together.
Mhm.
And I said, by so and so in his ear, right? And he was like, yeah. Then I had to reveal to everyone that me too.
Mm.
We went back to the room after and had a conversation, and we were 52 years old, 53 years old when we discussed with one another that maybe that's why we
No
kind of
doubt.
messed up.
No doubt.
Yo, I never had the conversation with my own brother,
Yeah.
my twin, my womb mate,
Mhm.
right? Much less than when I even had that conversation with Wendy, because
Right.
I never had the conversation with Wendy.
Mm.
You see where I'm coming from? Because we don't want to feel a certain way, especially when it's the same sex that did that.
Mhm. Exactly.
You
Because
see where I'm coming from?
there's a level
There's
of shame that
shame.
comes along
Yes.
with it.
Of course, the level of shame.
Shame.
Yeah.
Of course, and then you never told your parents.
And then if you're not in the right environment where people are emotionally matured, and you know what I'm saying, it gets yeah, you get played
Miss
in.
Sade touched on this. She said, and what she was speaking to is when you hear individuals that finally disclose, a lot of times they're struggling between, right, the intellectualization of what transpired
Yep.
and the physiological reality of it feeling good.
Right.
And that messes with an individual's mind. How do you reconcile that with
Woo!
it, right?
So, ooh,
And the
So,
thing that
yeah.
we have to understand is that the body likes what it likes, right? And predators know that.
okay,
Yeah,
okay. So
there's
Sade,
neurological sensations, right, that occur.
so
Because
imagine introducing something into your marriage
right.
and opening that box
That-
and actually loving it.
And here's the,
Wow.
you don't even me as your wife, I'm thinking I'm introducing something new,
Nah,
but
bruh.
because we've never had this conversation, this is something that's triggering something like I've felt this before. I've experienced this before. I'm sorry. Like, how do we move from where we are
yeah.
back to where we were before this happened?
It's
Mhm.
overcoming
I
that
think
shame.
too. I think
Go ahead.
one thing you have to realize. I'm sorry, Leah. You wanted to.
No, you're good.
Go ahead,
So
pops. Oh, sorry, not pops. I mean, sorry, man. Sorry.
I think one thing you have to realize too is that we grew up in an era where kids are seen and not heard, and so a lot of times too, you have to think even with young ladies. Why are you dressing like that around that man? Put some clothes on. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, so he doesn't have control over himself, so I gotta, dress fully. Also, it's like, what did you do? That's what the child is being asked. What do you mean what I did? I was being a child. What are you talking about? And so therefore, when a lot of those things happen, you don't know who to go to because your parents did not make it a safe place for you. So when I had children, I told my kids exactly what their body parts were. So there is no mistaking if something happens, it wasn't he touched my wee wee or he touched that. And he's like, oh, you bring in a stuffed animal. This is my wee wee. And so now you've caused a whole bunch of stuff that you're like, wait a minute. So I told my kids exactly what their body parts were. If somebody touches you, if this happens, You can feel comfortable. Come and tell me. Don't be afraid.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's not the era we grew up in. It would be automatically, what did you do? Why didn't you leave? Why didn't you come and tell? And so all of a sudden the kids feel like he did something wrong. Like, what did I do? And so that's another reason why we keep those things, you know, to ourselves, and we take them all into adulthood. And then you get into a marriage and you start acting out, and they don't understand. Your spouse doesn't understand, well, what the heck is going on? Because it could be some things that you want to try and you want to do that was done to you. You know, you want to, you're not open to certain things because of what has been done to you. And so you just figure, I'm gonna go do this and then I'm gonna be done. I don't want a whole lot of, and so that PTSD starts to kick in. You see what I'm saying? Because now that's that post-traumatic stuff where it's like, well, man, he's always wanting to, why is it that, you know, he has to have, or she has to have this certain music playing, or why do I have to wear this certain cologne, or why do we have to do it here? Because a lot of times when it happened, this is where it happened, this is how it happened, or why can't I do this? Because when that happened, you know, to me, I don't like this, and I don't like this. That's because those things happened during the abusive time.
Wow.
And I think the other part is that a lot of times, and I can say from my experience, I don't think that it's parents don't want to create a safe place. A safe place wasn't created for them when they experienced it.
So they don't know how to create it.
Right. They don't know how.
They because the truth of the matter is, my generation was not the first to experience it, right? I think my generation was the first to go to therapy and talk about it. But my parents, my grandparents were never given the freedom to say, Uncle so-and-so touched me.
Right.
Or this happened. So to create a safe place, you have to know what a safe place even feels like. And I think
not just the safe place, you have to also have language that's associated with the action. Most children don't have the language to say what has taken place.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. There's no words in their vocabulary to say that this, that, and the third actually transpired. And so that's one of the reasons that play therapy is so important for children, is because that's their first language is play. Right? So you have to watch people and see the children. How are they moving? How are they acting? What is the unspoken language of what's taking place? So
and Leah, play brings us back to secure attachment too.
It does. Yeah.
That's what brings us back. And here's one thing you got.
I'm sorry, Terry. What is? I'm not going to gloss over that. What is that? What do you mean by that? What's
secure attachment?
Yeah. What is that?
Attachment. Secure attachment is where, you know, it happens really in the maternal, you know, process when a child is born. That look of love that you give the child, you know, the stroking and the looking, you know, looking at them like that look of love. I love this baby here. And you're caressing the hair and you rubbing them, and they're looking at you like, this right here is, you know, my person. This is my person. And so anytime we have secure attachment issues, it's based on a survival instinct. You see what I'm saying? It's like we're trying to survive. When there's some stuff there, it's not. And secure attachment is one way to get, or play is one way to get us back, because we play too much. We work too hard. We never sit down and have a good time and just go outside and run around. That brings us back. Those are one of the ways we can't, our parents can't help the template they were given. You see what I'm saying? But once they realize, okay, I've made some mistakes, there is a way to get that secure attachment back.
Yeah.
Can we have that in marriage? Can we have that in relationships?
Absolutely.
Of course we can.
So you know what the basis is of secure attachment is food. That is a big one, right? Like the baby is sucking on the breast. That's food. That's attachment. That's why whenever you see family gatherings, right, tends to be centered on food. Those things build attachment where there's a breach. I mean to cut you off, T. I'm sorry.
No. Wow.
And the way to get, you know, a couple of ways to get that secure attachment back is when you come home, 20, 30 seconds. I'm hugging my spouse. That right there, co-regulating. I've been in traffic. I've been working all day. I just need 20, 30 seconds to co-regulate. I don't want to hear anything bad. I don't want to see anything bad. Let's just hold each other for this 20 to 30 seconds. You see what I'm saying? That look of love you give them, like when y'all at a function and you look at them across the room like, man, I really, really love this person. You looking at them, y'all looking at each other like, wow, wow. And then again, play. You see what I'm saying? Let's get out here and play. Let's do some things. You see what I'm saying? Those things bring back that secure attachment. You know,
Can I ask a question, Terry? Please.
Right now.
Let me ask
Sure.
a question, and anybody can answer this. I'm going back to my, I'm learning. Okay, I'm learning, and I'm loving what I'm hearing. Do you think that secure attachments are nurtured through date nights?
Of course.
All day.
But before we jump into that, though, I feel it necessary to be careful or to say or urge like a warning, right? Like you need to be careful of what you attach yourself to, right? In my mind, as we talked about, the whole role playing and then bringing other people into I looked up the text because it ran across my mind. Holy Ghost gave it to me, I think. Proverbs 6:27 and 28. And it says, can a man scoop fire into his lap without his clothes being burned?
Right.
Or can a man walk on hot coals without his feet being scorched? Right. So you can entertain this stuff and then it moves to you might make an action. But by the time you made the action, you're already burning. You know what I'm saying? You're already on fire, right? And how long you think it's going to be before it burned you and your whole house down?
Mina makes a comment here. I know she's offline right now, but she makes a comment here because I was very stuck on. Let me go back up a little bit. I was very stuck on what you said, Terry, concerning secure attachments and what that is, and the way that you explained it was like, wow. That's not just children and whatnot. I mean, I'm even wondering, am I like that with my pets? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I'm being honest with you, right? But then Armina sends this mindset, and she says, "Well, what it doesn't look like: clingy, fearful, distant, avoidant, unpredictable, and confusing. I don't want to be in a relationship like that, even with friends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you don't want to be in a relationship with that, even with your workplace. In your workplace." You know what I'm saying?
You know how to get rid of that too is not speaking disparagingly against each other when y'all out in public.
You see me
talking about your spouse to other people. You ever been to like a function and the couple comes in late? Girl, he's so stupid. We could have been here a long time ago. He just be doing dumb stuff. Then the guy go with the guys, man. She be on that stuff all the time. I don't even know why I'm with her. That stuff right there. That doesn't help the bond. You see what I'm saying? That doesn't help the bond. So if you want to get that secure attachment back, those are some of the things that you can do. Yes, it doesn't look clingy or anything like that, but the deal is that it's at the root of it, like I said, is a survival instinct. Survival instinct.
Doctor,
go ahead.
Dr. Hay made a comment right here. He said, as Jamaican said, don't rub butter in a puss mouth.
Facts.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna need English on that one. I
don't. Jamaican proverbs.
Yo, it's what Quest was saying about don't bring fire into your bosom.
Okay.
But I mean, going back on what we, were talking about, where things have transpired in your earlier childhood, right? And how that can potentially show up to the marital bed or just the marriage, right, situation at best. We have to figure out how we're going to address, right, those issues. And I think, if we can kind of get back to centering that, because I think it shows up heavily in relationships.
Okay.
Where things have transpired in one's past and they don't feel very safe and being able to come to their potential mate, right, in the dating phase, as Sade was talking about, or within the marriage, you don't feel safe in saying, hey, these are my experiences, and this was the first encounter of sex that I've had.
Yep.
Because that's recorded
Mhm.
in your mind and in your body. The mind and the body is going to, at some point, want to gravitate back to its first pleasurable experience. How do we navigate that? Because when I talk to men and groups and things of that nature, if I bring up, and I just kind of do like what we call the ACEs, which is the adverse childhood experience study, we look at about 10 different things, right? And so one of the questions is, was there ever a time in which between the ages of 0 and 18, was there ever a time that someone that was at least 5 years your senior ever touched, fondled, engaged in oral or anal sex, right? And I'm having this conversation with men. The body language that's given, right, is averse and avoidant of being able to even sit in space, and no one is looking at their paper. Nobody sees what the answers are on their assessment. Their body language, just the thought of having to revisit such a thing and for it to potentially be known, because it's easy to keep things hidden and close to the chest. But once it comes out and somebody else sees it, then how am I now identified? Am I a man? Right? These are a lot of those questions. And so when that comes into the marital bed,
That's crazy.
how do we reconcile these sorts of things, right? Men, they, and again, I'm talking just about, you know, my client base for the most part is men, Black men. And in those spaces, a lot of times you hear, well, it was my babysitter.
Yep.
It was
That's
a
right.
woman. And hey, it was an older woman. Like, what's up? And they don't realize the damage that was done. And that their wife is going to have to assume later on in their lives of dealing with the sexual improprieties that was done to them by a trusted individual.
Can you be damaged in your 20s? Because I think I might be damaged.
But you know what, Quest? I was literally sitting here and I was thinking about how I have had conversations with teachers.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Conversations with teachers about what's appropriate and what's inappropriate. My male teachers know it off the bat. My male teachers are like, no female student can be in here with me by myself. No female student, like they know it. My female teachers, I'm having to coach them up because they don't even see it as such. They don't see it as inappropriate. They don't see it as, but the thing is, when you talk to fathers, right? I have a friend where his daughter, 13, if somebody touch her, I'm going in. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. I said, now, if your son comes to you and says that a teacher tried to touch him, what would you say? Was she fine? You are continuing this cycle of it's okay. As long as she looks good and, well, he wanted it anyway. How you know your daughter didn't want it?
Oh my gosh, stop it. Stop.
How do you know your daughter didn't pursue this man? How do you know your daughter wasn't presenting herself in such a way? But we are so quick to that young boy is a man and, you know, this is just what he wants to do. But this little girl, and this is the cycle like we talked about 2 weeks ago, Leah, where girls have this persona that we have to perform, right? I can't be who I really want to be. I have to perform, but this boy can do whatever he want to do and it's okay.
You know, we gotta realize that I could remember being in a room full of guys, freshman year Oakwood, talking about who did we mess with this weekend.
Lord,
and it was like a badge of honor.
It was
to talk about who you kissed, who you messed around, who you touched.
Bang.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm gonna go as far as to say this, right? Because it was so childish that it wasn't even about having sex. Is where did you put your hands? Oh, you understand where I'm coming from? Okay.
We want names. No, I'm just kidding.
I need receipts.
I need receipts. And one of the things that hit me
We
is
don't
that
believe ya.
it is not a badge of it is not a badge of honor to lose out. It's not a badge of honor to walk away from that. Maybe when it comes to the opposite sex, to the same sex, right? Then it's like, yo, chill, even if there's no big deal with other individuals. But what I'm saying is that when it's a woman, when you're entrusted, listen, family, when you're entrusted, when your family entrusts you to a 16 and 17-year-old girl, and you're 7, and you tell your uncles, and your uncles are like, my man, then it becomes a norm that it's okay. Then I expect for in all of my relationships that what this 16, 17-year-old girl did, that this 13-year-old young lady's not ready for or whatever, I'm imposing what I've learned up here to here, when that was abuse.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay. So I don't see it as abuse anymore. I see it now as a badge of honor. You see where I'm coming from? And this is, again, when we talk about role play, when we talk about is the marriage bed undefiled, when we talk about this, that, and the other, and I'm just gonna share this with you, like my dating life. When you talk to someone and they say during sex, I want to be hurt.
Ooh, that's some wild stuff.
No, I want to be hurt. I mean, you hear that. I want to be hurt. I want you to do this to me. I want you to do that to me. And if I say, listen, y'all, if I say, I'm not doing that, then the pressure is not on my boys. The pressure is she goes back and says, he ain't about nothing. Oh, you understand where I'm coming from? And I think that the way we are raised as men, as women in a sexual society, and now an exposed society, more conversations need to happen.
We talked about it, and I'm sitting here contemplating, right? Like in the dating scene, there are people who are married who aren't comfortable enough to have these conversations.
Facts.
Right.
That's why I said, just by putting the topic out there on the floor,
Right.
It's a big deal.
Much distress and discomfort in the body.
Right.
Let alone somebody having some one-on-one and looking me dead smack in my eye.
But can I say this real quick too? This is the reason why my heart goes out to Sade, like people who are in your category right now of trying to find a potential mate, right? The dating scene, those who are single and seriously looking to be in relationship. I'm glad that we're having, I mean, Leah, you said it, just throwing the conversation out there. You need to be having these conversations. And if you're not, and if it's too uncomfortable to have them, then you shouldn't be doing relationship. There's some foundational stuff in terms of who you are. Once again, here's my favorite word, development.
But here, Quest, this is what happens. And I'm going to just say it. I know everyone, and it's okay if you disagree. A lot of times what happens is the saviorist complex. Right? So now you have an individual that you see is unable to have this conversation, and that long suffering savior comes up and says, it's okay, honey. I'm gonna be here, right? And so you begin to be mothered, and you begin to be nurtured, and you build this attachment to this individual that has a lot of trauma.
And I think that the other thing is, a lot of people can talk about their trauma, although they haven't dealt with it. Those are two totally different things. This is what happened to me. This does not mean that you have sat and dealt with it. And that's why, Quest, when I brought it up at the beginning, God has not, in some people's lives, he's not shown himself trustworthy because they haven't done the work.
Wow.
Right? They haven't sat with the therapist, said, you know what, this happened to me, and they haven't been challenged to say, well, find God somewhere in it. Like, how can you find God in this trauma, or how can you find God in this experience? And so I think when you do the work, right? Because I was a performer. I was whatever he wanted, however, whatever. And it's not even just sexual. It's if he wants to go here, we're going here. Because in my mind, that's what I had to do as a little girl. I had to perform. Right. So now that I've gone to therapy, I sat through it, and I've sat through the feelings, and me and God have had some really tough conversations, because some things only God himself can answer for. So it's me and you, when we going toe to toe. Now I understand how I had a friend who said, before marriage, my wife was doing it all the time. She was doing it all the time. And now she's
Lord
not
have
doing
mercy.
it. And I said, I wonder if she was performing, because we've made you the prize. We've made marriage the prize. We've made a spouse the prize. And now that I've gotten it, I don't have to perform anymore. How much better would it be if I had sat and said, listen, this is just who I am every day, all day. This is what you're going to get, because I've done the work, and I don't have to perform for you, but you're going to get my good, bad, ugly, and indifferent.
Or it could simply just be that, you're able to show up that day.
Right.
Versus living with someone and they desire you every day.
My.
A big difference.
My.
I'm going to ask you this question.
That's
Yeah. Sadie, I'm going to ask you this question, and it's really not getting big. Do you feel that in your quest for marriage, do you have boundaries
when it comes to?
I'm just saying sexuality. Do you have boundaries?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I have boundaries, because what I've learned is that if I don't, it will spark insecurities. It will spark jealousy. It will spark frustration. Like all of these things that if I allow you to play too close to the fire, we're going to get burned.
Okay. I'm going to Terry for a minute. Been married, the whole nine, family, the whole nine. Do you have, as a man, do you have boundaries being single and what have you? Do you have boundaries?
Yeah, you ain't gonna put nothing in my butt.
Terry, hey, I don't care what nobody say. I love you, bro. I love you. I cook food.
I'm just keeping it a buck. You know what I'm saying?
He went and got his cup.
No tongues, no dildos, no lips.
Yeah, I ain't mad.
We don't
I'm letting y'all know now.
Welcome to the Get Fresh crew.
Coming in right now.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you my Tony Montana voice. Let
Yeah.
me tell you something, we don't do that here. We
don't do that over here, mama. Mira, mama, yo no sé, pero tú sabes. We don't do that here.
It's not gonna happen with me.
I have a question.
Not me, Papa. That's
Wait,
it.
I have a question though.
Es una problema. That's it.
If we're doing things the right way, right?
That's your problem.
We're not having.
There is no right way when it comes to the booty plate.
No. Okay, listen. What I'm saying is, if we're dating and we're saying we're not having sex until we're married, when do you think we have that conversation?
You have it from the jump.
Have what conversation?
Having what conversation?
Right.
Your sexual boundaries conversation.
When we start talking about sex.
Gotta
I'm
have the
not just gonna
conversation.
come out on the first night. You know you ain't putting nothing in my butt, right? I just want
That might work. That might work.
I just want to make it 100. You know what I'm saying? Keep it a stack with you. I just want to keep it a stack with you.
So to answer your question, Paul, there are boundaries that, and there are things that I'm not going to do. You see what I'm saying? There's things that I'm not going to do. So if it's like, if it's something you want that I'm like, you can get somebody else to do it. Get somebody else to do it. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not going, there's certain things I'm not going to do.
you know, it's funny. You know, God rest her
Tori
soul.
said
I love
before the
I love
first
my
date.
grandmother to death, and I think I don't even know if some of my cousins are watching. My
Ooh.
grandmother was very vocal with me about sexuality. My grandmother. Um, wow, maybe I'm not over her. Sorry. Okay. She, when I got married, if Wendy's watching this, she'll tell you when I got married, she said to me before we got to the reception, she said, if things are not working out sexually with her, and she said it her own way, you must find something else. You don't have to leave her, but you must find something else. If the conversation does not happen before you get married, you're gonna find yourself you're gonna find yourself lacking. You're gonna
Sexually frustrated.
Sexually frustrated, messed up, asking yourself the question why, because even though it is not 100% of the marriage, it is a percentage of the marriage. And I feel that many people that get married, they don't go in with the same percentage. I just don't believe they're going to, and I don't think they can all go in the same percentage. And I think, again, I'm going back to Leah again, people change. All right. I saw a couple sometime before who the issue was that they watched pornography.
Mm-hmm.
Then they decided that they were not going to watch it. But then he decided that I want to get back into it. She was like, no, I'm not going to do that. It was not even a spiritual thing. You know, it had to do with respect. You know, it really had to do with respect or what have you. He felt duped. Okay, let me be real. She felt duped. All right, she felt duped. It was the her that was upset about it. And I think that the scariest thing is when things change in marriage concerning your sexuality. When things, you know, if Wendy comes up to him, just say Wendy comes up to me and she puts on a baseball cap, Tim's, right, shorts on,
My.
and a vest. Yo, I don't think I'm going to be like, that's not what I like. My mindset would be like, if that's what you like, you know, I will get used to it, even if it's a one-time thing. That's the role play I think that what's the name was talking about, that Armina was talking about, right? But like, if you're gonna beat me with a
dildo,
with anything,
with chains, all of that,
whips.
Put a big one across your forehead.
Thank you. Hold up, y'all. You gonna choke me out?
Pause. Big pause.
I mean, I don't like that stuff. And for me, I don't know how I'm gonna have that conversation to be like, yo, I don't like that. I don't want that or whatever. Because here it is. I'm going back to. I'm just going back to you, Sade. I like what you said. You're a what? You're a performer.
I was a performer.
Okay, my grandmother taught me to be a pleaser, which means whatever they want, and she and my grandmother meant whatever she wants. You do it, no matter what. And this was her answer, and we can use this for another show. Listen to this. She said, because if she doesn't, you have every right to go out and do what you feel like doing unapologetically.
Wow.
Do you understand where I'm coming from?
Wow.
I just want to be clear. Yo, my grandmother was one who believed that if you're starving, you need to eat.
And here's the thing, though. So, right, this speaks to the framework, right? This is the framework that you have learned to operate from.
Yep.
We're talking about just whether or not you engage in a particular sexual act or not.
Right.
We need to ask questions about the framework, right? Your belief system around this conversation of sex,
absolutely,
right? Because that, to me, if I heard that, I'd have had to let you go early on.
They were already married.
The reality
Here's the funny thing about it. You know it's serious because when you spoke about it, you got
So
it was like, oh,
but
I'm
here's
pulling myself
like,
up. I ain't over here just yet. So I know that the connection is close.
It was tight. It was
just
tight.
saying.
Terry,
Just
before I
saying.
let you go ahead, Terry, my mom, I'm giving you an example again, right? My mom did not like me with a young lady, dated her for years, right? As a pastor, she was not Adventist. Y'all missed that. I was a pastor. She was not Adventist. I'm just put it out there like that.
Yep.
And my mother got to a place where she said, I don't even want her in the house because I don't appreciate. My mother had the nerve to call my grandmother. Hey, dude, I'm 23, 24. My mother called my grandmother and was like, yo, how she felt. She said how she felt. My grandmother called me. Remember, there's no cell phones. My grandmother called me and said to me, your mother is having a problem with who you're dating, right? She said, my house is free at any hour of the night to come here and lay down, relax, and so whatever with your girlfriend.
Where was grandma when I was running wild?
Right?
I'm just playing.
When I say to you, right? When I say to you that my grandmother and myself were so close.
That's crazy.
Right?
I don't want to disrespect grandma.
No, you could just
Can I just say this? Sometimes we enable people.
Yeah.
I hear you.
And I'm gonna leave it there. Sometimes we enable people to do things that is to their detriment later on.
Leah, when I went home,
and she was the matriarch, so she had power.
She was a matriarch. Now let me share something with you before I land a plane on my grandmother. Wow,
that's wild, grandma.
I recognize that my grandmother grew up with too much. I'm going to share this with you. This is the whole pastorship mindset where me and her now I understand, right? And I'm going to tell you because remember Terry talked about this whole thing being a generation thing a couple of weeks ago, right? My grandmother was the rich little girl in the area or in the town there where my grandmother wore shoes, wore ribbon in her hair. My grandfather had a what do you call it again? A buggy, a horse and buggy. We're talking about Jamaica. She got pregnant early, right? Early. And she said she never asked to be an example. You understand where I'm coming from? She never asked to be an example. Everybody's talking, you could have done so. You're the eldest child. You so-and-so, whatever. She never asked to be that. The same way when listen, y'all, when I pastored at 23, and she would say to me, boy, you really messed yourself up this time, huh? You understand where I'm coming from? You never asked, right? You never asked for all of this to come upon you. So now you're going to live the rest of your life until you get married so if you want a secretive so-and-so, you have my house because I know what it's like to do so-and-so. Yo, generations teach us wrong. Come on, y'all, right? And generation also teach us that I don't want my grandson to go through what I went through. Do you understand where I'm coming from?
But this is the reason why, too, P, that it's important for us to understand legacy and understand what happens when we open up these boxes and right, because a lot of us are let me tell you something. I come from a long line of Jamaican men. You know what I'm saying? Some fair-skinned cats whose mouth was sweet, like they open up their mouth and immediately
like butter to puss mouth.
I come from a line of men, they open up their mouth and chicks was catching diabetes. Their mouth was so sweet. You feel me? And so what I'm saying is, like, as a believer now in this season, and I know what God has required of me personally. I ain't talking about nobody else, I'm talking about Quest Green. I know what God has required of me. And there's some stuff that's you know where the sins fall into the second and third generation? It's some stuff I got in me, bruh. And like, I know some of it I contributed to, but some of it I did not contribute to. And I know that's why I got to be careful about where I put my foot, because I promise you, like, oh man, when they came and asked your boy to be an elder, I was like, yo, you sure you want that? Like, because I don't shuck and jive, number one, and I don't do the, like, I'm going to tell you who I am, what I do, and it's so that I can be accountable to me and accountable to a couple of other people as well. My wife has this thing that she does with me. Whenever she want me to straighten up or whenever I black out, right? She goes, Elder Green.
Oh.
And she don't say nothing. She don't say nothing else, and she backs up.
Mine says, "Where's my priest?"
Wow. And it's not just because of the position in and of itself. She's speaking to the person inside that God told me I should be. I could care less about the position. The position don't mean nothing to me.
I still want Tim's with the hat.
Oh, all day. I preached in Adidas sweatsuit the other day. Like, you know what I'm saying? But she's speaking to the calling that God has put on my life. So I can't just operate in any kind of way. Do you know how many marriages will get jacked up if I get caught out here messed up in some stuff?
Woo!
You know how many people gonna be jacked up because they're gonna be thinking, well, if he can't do it, what hope is there for me? You know what I'm saying? And I'm not telling you, like, when we go to places and spaces, we're not tempted to do foolishness, because people just have a tendency sometimes of being attracted to some stuff they ain't got no business being attracted to. So little stuff is said to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember being at conferences and women, damn, you smell good. And I'm like, whoa. Yeah, so I had to tell the team, run me interference whenever we go to. If you see me talking to any chick for more than 5 minutes, come and run me some interference.
That's Kelvin Mitchell.
Can I go back to something you were saying earlier, Paul, if I can remember it?
No. Go ahead, man. Try.
I think, and that's a good, strategy that you have, Quest. It's always good to have a strategy, because you won't be tempted above what you can, you know what I'm saying? And you're going to
be in therapy too, Terry, because I got to deal with the inner man on a regular basis.
He provides a way of escape. And so I know where you're coming from, because I had to end a therapeutic relationship with a woman, because she came on to me and she was just like, yo, I want to see what, and I was like, so let me just say this, that's not going to happen. And because you expressed that to me, we have to terminate therapy, because I can't, you see what I'm saying? And this was a fine sister that I had to end, therapy with, because I was just like, man, let me just do this now, because I can't risk my license. You see what I'm saying? I can't risk my license for that, because my license is more valuable, and so is my reputation. But going back to something you were saying, Paul, about your grandmother, I think, and Leah, I think, touched on it. It's like she was doing what she thought was best. You see what I'm saying? Based on her own experience. But what you also got to realize too is, a lot of times when somebody wants to do something and the other partner doesn't, going back to what Sade has said, have you talked about some trauma that has happened with you? And you don't understand why this person, you're supposed to be my wife, you're supposed to be my husband, but you haven't talked about that thing. You see what I'm saying? And so it causes, this person gets mad, and next thing you know, you're sitting in divorce court and you never knew what the issue was, because that person never talked about the problem. You see what I'm saying? That traumatic issue. Well, I want to do this. Or why you don't want to do it? Because I just don't want to do it. I don't think we should be doing that. That's not. And then you start bringing in the Bible and God and Jesus and all of that, and really not saying what the real issue is. The real issue is, this happened to me when I was a child, and doggone it, I don't want it. And you're like, oh my God, I didn't even think about that. Because you're just thinking that, hey, we married now, it's okay. we should be able to do these things. And so those are some of the things that people don't consider when they're saying. But what you got to look at too is coming from look at our history. We have ancestors who were raped picking cotton and had to get back up and keep picking. You see what I'm saying? We have ancestors who were, had to push out babies for their owners and had to get up and keep on working like it didn't exist. So we are the masters of, you see what I'm saying, masking those traumatic incidences that happened to us. And guess what happened? It's in every last one of us today. It
Survival
was passed
mode.
on because trauma changes our DNA.
Wow.
Where we are. You see what I'm saying? And so we just like everybody knew your Uncle Johnny was what he was doing, but nobody said anything. And he still came to the family reunions and he still gave the kids candy and he still gave them money. And nobody said anything, but they knew what was going on. And in some instances, you were served up. You see what I'm saying? Because you knew he was doing this, but he was the only one that could keep the kids while you went to work. You see what I'm saying? And you just prayed like, I hope nothing happened. And so, you guys were talking earlier, and I don't want to interrupt about, the babysitter and stuff like that. Sometimes the babysitter is your own family. For instance, look at R. Kelly. R. Kelly brother talked about him and his brother. He was like, look, his brother said when he was kept inside, he knew, it was going to be on him. If Robert was kept inside, it was going to happen to Robert. And this was by their 16-year-old sister. You see what I'm saying? By their 16-year-old sister. Now, guess what? All this runs downhill. All behavior is learned. You don't wake up one day and say, you know what? I think I want to molest my brothers and sisters. What happened to her? You see what I'm saying? What happened to her? So she does what? She imposes it on the next person. So everybody's looking at R. Kelly as this horrible individual who never got help for what was going on with him. Never got help for it. But because R. Kelly doesn't have game for older women. You know what speaks to older women? The music, the money, the status. Mm-hmm. He has conversation for younger women because the trauma that happened, his mind is still there. Remember, trauma is this event that happens, in where the nervous system and its capacity to process the event gets left behind. It's frozen, stuck in the brain. That's where he is. He's still in that childlike. He grows, but that trauma is still there. It's still there. So he can talk to them young girls because that's where he at. Older girls ain't got to say nothing. I'm Robert Kelly. Ooh, sing me a song. I want to. But the younger girls, that's where his rap is. That's where he can. You see what I'm saying?
Well, I've never. Is this something that? Is this a fact? What you just said?
Epigenetics. What are you talking about? About R. Kelly?
Just said my man should be set free.
No.
But here's the thing. I'm not absolving him for what he did. What he did was wrong if it happened. What I'm saying is nobody ever gets to the root of the pedophile or anybody else. You don't wake up and just say, I want to start, messing with little boys and little girls. It's happened to them.
I understand.
It's happened to them.
And what Terry is talking about is the developmental age.
Got it.
Right? Versus your chronological age.
I got it.
You may be 45, 50 years of age, but your mind at the time that the traumatic event occurred, if it was 5, 6, 7, right? Then that's where you are developmentally until you learn how, right, to manage the traumatic event, grow yourself up. Because we got to grow ourselves up, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I just thought about what you talked about. I just thought about our session, Leah. It just came to me like, oh yeah, that's what we talked about. And the thing that I want to say is what's crazy is the whole time y'all have been talking, because I've been sitting here, I was like, I can't wait to get married to finally have Facebook.
Say that again, because questions hit the 10-minute bell.
I said I can't wait until I get married because that will be the first time I will have safe sex.
Wow.
Are you sure?
Well, I pray it'll be my husband and we'll be in a good relationship and we'll be nice and healthy and together. But when I say safe, like there's nothing else, right? Like I've said it on the show. I hate Survivor, whatever, but I was sexually abused for years out of my life. And it's so interesting how I've laid down when I didn't want to because I felt like I had to. But that's because that's what I learned. And what we don't talk about is when it happens has a greater impact because if it happens during those formative years, that's how you interpret life. Mine happened way too early to where this is just what life is. This is what sex is. And to unlearn that and then be in a place where I'm like, wow, I cannot wait to want to have sex with somebody, right? Where I desire it, where it's Sade and there's no power play. There's no manipulation. There's no what can I get out of this or what am I given to get something. That is something that I think a lot of people don't get to experience because again, the trauma is what's driving us. The trauma
Survival mode. I hate it.
Move the way that we move instead of saying, you know what? I want my yes to be my yes and my no to be my no.
Let me tell you, it's so funny. And Terry said it a while ago that the trauma changes your DNA.
Yeah, that when
that thing, Terry, like that was like the slap. I had in my therapy session this week. My therapist was asking me some questions. She was like, "Where in New York are you from?" And I was like, "Brooklyn." And she was like, "You carry?" I was like, "I do." She was like, "When you go to restaurants or when you go to public places where you gotta sit, do you sit with your back to the door?" I said, "Never that." And she was like, "Yeah, you got socialized trauma, and sometimes you wear the thing like a badge, but it's because of the traumas that cause you to respond in this seat like that. You I know where you." She was like, "I know where you live." She's right. She's like, "I know you live in Steel Creek. I know where you live. That ain't nowhere close to the hood." But it's funny that you've not lived in the hood for years, but it's still resident in you. And when you said that thing, Terry, in terms of like for real, when you experience trauma, like it changes your DNA. It always keeps me in survival mode.
Right.
When I'm not in a place where I gotta look at my environment or do anything where I gotta survive. And I'm like, well, how do you get out of that? And she was like, well, number one, you need to like get on your face before God. That's number one. But when these opportunities, because here's the funny thing, because of the way that I do it, I know that if I don't make the adjustments soon, that my children gonna grow up in survival mode because of how you understand. And I was in when I tell you I was in the session in tears. Why? Because I know that my kids can act with a certain level of entitlement, right? But this is the environment that we wanted for them. But it's the environment that we wanted for them. But my mind is still in survival mode because of the way that I grew up. And here's the funny thing. It's so subtle that you don't even know that you're doing it. You don't even know that you're doing it.
But Quest, look, Terry, you probably gonna say the same thing. Go ahead.
So here's the thing. It's it's not that the trauma happens. It's that it happens over and over and over and over and over again. And that's what people are trying to prevent. You see what I'm saying? It keeps happening over. And it's just like, man, it happened. It's still there. How do you get rid of it? Because it's so deep embedded that you act out later in life. You see what I'm saying? Your nervous system, it can't process it. It becomes overwhelmed. And so you stay there, like Leah was saying, you stay in a certain mindset. Michael Jackson, R. Kelly, anybody that's been abused, what's the man, Sly and the Family Stone, all of these people were abused at church by a musician or whatever the case may be. And so those things stay with us because back in the day, what did we have? Just pray about it. Just pray about it. Just pray about it. And it's like, wow. So ain't nobody talking about therapy. Nobody's talking about therapy because that wasn't for us back then. Therapy was for who? For white crazy folk. You see what I'm saying? It wasn't for us. All we had was Jesus, and that's what happened. And you can have both. You can have both.
You know what she started me doing? She started having me identify when that thing shows up, right? That when the armor shows up, I'd start identifying when it works for you and when it works against you. And even in the moments where you think that it's working for you, even do a double check on that, because you think it's working for you because of like, no, this is what she said. She said, when it's working for you, I think you like the fact that you're in survival mode in those moments. You like what it does for you. You like that it sends the message like, yeah, I'm not him. Like, you know what I'm saying? And she said that in those moments, does it really work for you in those moments as well?
And I think another,
there's chemicals that's emitted when you're right in this fight or flight phase, right? So that hardened exterior, that hood, whatever, that's fight nonstop, right? And so as you get that dumping of these feel-good chemicals that helps you to fight through life, and then you cut that off cold turkey, just like cutting off sex cold turkey and anything else, right? That you may be addicted to, because you can be addicted to anger. You can be addicted to hood, you know. The real is that your body begins to seek after it, right? And you have to quench that somehow, some way. So if you don't replace it, you'll find yourself back to it.
Can I jump in? I'm talking. Y'all been talking this whole time.
Are you really talking, Nina? Do you have something to say?
I do.
Okay.
So I love talking about trauma. It is my specialty. I am certified in it, love it to the bone. And TP, when you said that, how it changes our DNA, can I just add just a little bit? I know that bell done rung already, but TP's talking about when the trauma is chronic and unhealed, right? Because there are so many of us who have experienced traumatic events and we have changed, we have healed from it. Those are not the ones we're talking about. We're talking about the ones that are chronic and they're unhealed. And those things look like the abuse, the racism, the poverty, even war. Those things, they actually affect the way our genes express themselves. You know, so when you talk about like genes are like hardwire, and life events or life experiences like the trauma, they act like software and they get to turn the genes on and off. So like when we talk about trauma, it goes so deep. It's not just what happened to us, it's the impact it has and how it affects us from that moment on.
You know, Mina, I'm gonna close on you on what you just said. Yep. I paused in here and I wrote to all of y'all guys that I just love y'all. Yeah, you know, I hate y'all.
Rainmaker.
Man, what's real about this is that I'm gonna ask a question around the horn. Okay, just for a second. And in the question, you don't have to talk about yours. You can talk about just in general. And I'm gonna start off with Mina, and I want to close off with Terry. What is it in your in your experience that you feel that you or just people in general need to heal from? Okay, if you don't want to say yourself, that's fine, right? But even in your experience, people in general. Okay, and I'm going to start. All right, I'm going to start. I think that I would need to heal from FOMO. That's me, right? The fear of missing out. All right. And I'm going to say this, and you don't have to add for yourself. I've recognized that I probably pastored too early. Okay. Yeah, I probably should have been an assistant. Paul Graham, not anybody else. Paul Graham. I probably should have been an assistant, probably working in another job before really being fully developed, not just for marriage, but for relationships.
Let me ask you a quick question too, because you in a very deep place. Do you believe, because you was a talented as a pastor, P? I'm saying even from back then, do you believe that your talent took you to a place that your character couldn't keep you?
Ooh.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm not turning this around right on me, but I folks don't know we text each other. I'm texting that I love you guys. I love you guys, and I'm not sharing with the world so and so whatever. I mean, I'm gonna say it right now. Right now, I'm a good pastor. I'm a good
No,
pastor.
you're a great pastor,
Right.
bro. All jokes
And
aside.
and I'm gonna say this because I had a conversation with my brother the other day, and it's not supposed to go this long because I don't want y'all to go that long. We just say you stop me to say that. What I've learned I'm supposed to always finish last, but I got to go first. Where I have learned really that I've said to Pat today, Pat, this weekend at Oakwood, I realized that I'm a good father.
Praise God.
Okay.
That
I
part.
realize that when I say I'm a good husband, that I know what to do to be a good husband. I'm telling the conversation I had with Pat. Because I don't never think I'm good enough or whatever, in that. But what I did say to Pat, and Pat said, Paul, I agree with you. He said, I was never taught to be a good man.
Yeah, that's it.
And 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 I went through 21 days of a reset. And I didn't put it out there. I just said anyone who would like to join me. It's like maybe 20 something of us for 21 days. And today was the last day, it's 21 days. And I'm going to say this, that I believe I need to be healed from FOMO.
Yeah.
Because that's it. That's all I'm just gonna put that out there. I'm no less than this, that, and the other. I have not revealed anything to people or this, that, and the other. What I can simply say is that what I'm missing out on, I shouldn't feel like I'm missing that. I should feel that I'm protected from that. I'm protected from that. And I think that if I pastored at 28, 29, for real, I know me, instead of pastoring at 23, I think I would have been a better man, not just a better father or a better husband, but a better man. Yeah. Now, I'm not asking for us to go through what I just went through, because this is my therapy. This is my therapy on here. These are my, that's how I always say this is my therapy. But I want to thank you guys.
So we should be charging
you.
Get that money, TP. Get that money.
Provider, sir.
Get that money.
So I'm going to go back on you guys right now before we close it off. What do you think people or yourself need to heal from? I shouldn't have gone through all of that just now. But
I know. I'll tell you this. I need to heal from taking L's.
Wow.
There's this mental turmoil that I go through when I take an L.
Wow, that's my first elder.
You know what I'm saying? It's this mental turmoil I go through when I take an L. I'm getting better at it because of therapy, but it just stems back from, just being on the block. You take an L and you could get ridiculed for, so it caused me to get better at dumb stuff like being able, it's never a bad thing to be able to defend yourself, but when you like when you walk around with a chip on your shoulder, sometimes you would, like, for real. I'm in a season of my life where I don't have the chip on my shoulder per se, but the idea of taking an L, and it transcends through almost every area. When I'm getting ready to put some pieces of a program together, if all the pieces ain't right, like it's something inside going on, like, yeah, your name is on this, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, and if I don't know that it's gonna be fresh, then I kind of back up off of it. But yeah, long story short, if I needed to be healed from one thing, it would be from that, from taking L's. Like, it's okay. And here's the funny thing: I know what the equation to success is. It's fail, 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 and then one day success.
Wow. Shout out to Adventist Music Network. they've pushed this so far just now. I just look at their thing, it's like way ahead. Thank you guys, thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
Can I just kind of piggyback a little bit on what Quest was saying?
Yeah.
And I know we're trying to wrap this up.
No, go ahead.
I want to put this out here. When we're talking about healing, I just want us to look at it from a practical standpoint. If you have a wound, that wound heals. There's still going to be, right, a mark.
Yeah.
And sometimes there may even be pain that still resurfaces. So I don't ever want us to get to the point where when we keep talking about healing and therapy, like that, we don't ever encounter this thing again, because you will. You learn to manage it.
That's the part.
But it doesn't, right? Whatever is downloaded in the brain and the body, it's there forever. It ain't going nowhere.
Wow.
Learn how to manage that thing.
I got you.
Your reactions are different. Your reactions to those things when it comes around are different.
Yeah. So you learn how to cope with it. You learn how the mental reframing, right? And as Terry has that brain up there, right? You can, do some other things, but the reality is when it's downloaded. Yeah.
As Leah is saying, anything, the brain is like this huge, Excel file. Whatever, it's just going, everything you put in there is stored in there. So she's absolutely right, because I always tell people, if you got a broken bone, it'll heal, but it's not 100% like it was before. You see what I'm saying? So the trauma is always there. Now, if you've healed, you never heal at 100%. You can do better. You can do much better, but it's still there. So you look at it differently. You look at, okay, this is the way I'm going to move. I've learned, I've healed, I've done whatever, but it's still going to have an effect. The question is, what type of effect is it going to have on you?
Yes, sir.
I understand.
You can fully engage again, or what I teach my clients is you can zero response. You see what I'm saying? I'm a zero response that. I'm not even giving that. This right here is I'm going to put this on the shelf. This is a tomorrow issue. I'm not going to deal with that right now. This is a tomorrow issue. Okay? So you start thinking differently about it. But if you are not, healed, and I use that with inverted commas, every time that those energies hit those spots, it's what you have, trauma experiencing. It's there. And so you do whatever you do, and a lot of times we do ineffective behaviors that we think work. They never do, but we keep choosing them anyway because that's what we've learned.
I love that. No, Mina, you're last. Sade.
Oh, you just said my name. I thought you were going to ask a question again. Okay. As I was sitting here, I feel like I need to heal from my disappointment in God.
Wow.
Because that when it's triggered really big. So just knowing that, especially if I want a healthy relationship in the future, I have to get that relationship right first. Yep, that's it. Okay.
Mina?
I was in a session with a client today, and we were talking about this very thing. And all of this client's issue goes back to rejection and abandonment. And I was thinking, like, my goodness, that is more than half of the population. And I'm not just talking about like healing from the obvious, and I'll stick with rejection. I'm not talking about the obvious kind, but that quiet kind of cutting kind, the one that kind of sinks deep and just sort of settles in your soul. And as we were talking, she and I started talking about rejection from parents, right? Not being chosen emotionally, even when they were physically present, being compared to your siblings, feeling like love had to be earned through like grades, obedience, silence. Even growing up faster than we should have, parenting the ones who, we are our siblings and protecting them, but no one's there protecting us. So yeah, I think rejection. I think if we could start to identify what that looks like and start working through that, a lot of our attachment issues will be worked out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love you guys. That's it. That's it. I don't want no music, no nothing. I want to thank everybody for just spending some time with us today, tonight. That's what happens when we don't talk in 2 weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was vexed, man, that I could not be a part of the. I was vexed,
No,
but
no, no,
I
no.
was like,
Now you were throwing the words over. You were throwing the words over. So Leah, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm gonna drop you off for a moment. I'm gonna drop you off for a moment. You're gonna drop you off. Wait for us. Wait for us. Um Terry, just wait for us in the other room. Thank you, man. I'm gonna tell you again. Thank you. Thank you. Man,
Welcome.
thank you. Thank you. Mina, I just really think that all the statements that you were bringing to the table from wherever you were, thank you. I mean, that whole thing concerning trauma and dealing with trauma and I think we don't know how traumatized we are until we sit with individuals that can help us open that up, especially through the spirit. Okay.
I want to thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah.
You shared it on a platform that is, we don't even know where this thing goes, right? And
Mhm.
to share that, I want to commend you for that, because that's not an easy thing to share. It's like you jumped on it and jumped off it, but we heard you.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
I want to say I appreciate you for sharing that.
We'll check y'all in the green
That was
room.
bold.
It's bold.
Okay.
I'm too old to be bold. All right, good. All right, cool. Sade,
Yes.
you hurry up and get married. We tired of you.
Let me say, I'm doing my part.
Okay, okay, good. All right, good.
Doing my
Thank,
part.
thank you for just sharing and helping others who may be in the same situation.
For real, for real.
I think that when you talk about healing and hey God, what you doing right now?
And I think the thing is, we've been told that we can't question God. We can't. And what I've learned is if I can't have hard conversations with anybody else, that's the one being I should be able to go to and say, you hurt me. Right? God can handle me saying, you hurt me. I feel abandoned by you. Mina was talking about rejection and those things, but how does that feel when you feel like that's coming from God? How,
Mm,
how do you sit and process rejection from God, abandonment from God? But it's the feeling, not necessarily the truth. And
got
being
it.
able to differentiate between the two of those takes a lot of work.
I think that's important, Sade, because a
Yeah.
lot of people have learned how to do religion, but not relationship with God.
And it's
Wow.
hard, especially
Wow.
if you've experienced, abuse, or if you've experienced just trauma in general. Sometimes you have to go back to that age and let that kid talk to God.
Mhm.
Yeah, and just like what Terry was talking about, stuck in a certain
Yeah.
space. Let that kid talk to God. I
Like
got
I
you.
need to go to God as a 6-year-old sometimes. Like, sir,
Yeah, sir, sir.
But here's fun. What's funny too? I think sometimes you need to pray because sometimes you can't remember exactly when and where. I'm like, God, take me back to the place where all of this foolishness started,
Started.
and
so I
let
can go and
me
make the
there.
repairs from there.
But the other part of the prayer is let me see you there.
Yeah, let me see you there
Take
too.
you there, but let me see you. I need to see
No
where you
doubt.
were.
No
Because I
doubt.
don't feel you there. I don't, in my natural mind, I don't see you there.
No doubt.
But I need you to show me where you were.
Yeah.
And he'll do it.
I got you. Got
Definitely
you.
do it.
Get out of here, Sade. Bye. Bye, girl.
Yo.
Yo.
Um,
Mm,
I hope that when we hear this stuff, P, that it's not just stuff that we hear, but we like really spend some time thinking about it and making the adjustments. You know what I'm saying? Like all jokes aside, man, what people who know me know the pillars of the company is foundation, who you are as an individual, love, the love that you build with the person you do in relationship with, lifestyle, what you build or how you build life around that love, and lastly, legacy. And I
mhm.
think I'm already in the season of legacy because I'm a grandfather now. My grandchild is here. There's no conversation, or you know what I'm saying. And my question is, what will that generation be if God should delay his coming and Roman gets old enough to where he gets into relationship? And like, what will me and Faith doing right now change the trajectory of marriages in my family, relationship in my family to come?
Well, look, we out. That's all. Ain't no music, no nothing. We out. Share this with someone. Please share this with someone. You'll be seeing us. You'll be hearing from us. We have some announcements that we'd like to make coming down the pike of us not being all over the place. We're going to be on one spot, YouTube. And today, I just really want to just simply say thank you for allowing us to have this unscripted conversation. Be blessed, everyone. Be blessed.
4, 3, 2, 1.